Hi, I'm Sally Gates. I've been performing, teaching and composing music for many years. Today we're going to look at a range of scales on the piano that you can easily incorporate into your playing and songwriting. We'll use this cheat sheet from iVideo Songs as a guide. It's easy to use, laid out well, and shows you some of the most common scales you encounter. Let's pause for a minute and talk about hand technique. You want to keep your fingers nice and relaxed and rounded, almost like you're holding a bubble and you don't want it to burst. You're going to play between the pad and the tip of your finger, right about here is where you'll hit the keys. Keeping your hands nice and rounded like this, we can move around easily, and then as we move up the scale, we can tuck our thumb under our third finger, so that will help us move around and up and down the keyboard. A scale is a progression of notes from the root note in its octave. Here's a scale that should be immediately familiar to your ear. Getting back to the chart, scale patterns are made of set intervals or distances between each note. The major scale is made up of whole and half steps. So a whole step means you're going up 2 keys, for example C to D, or a half step is going up 1 key, for example C to C sharp. So for the major scale, this pattern that we use is the root note, whole step, half step, whole, half, and then back down, half, half. So this creates a pattern known as the major scale. And if we wanted to change keys, we essentially lift it up and move it over to the next root note. So if we go to G major, we have G as our root, and we use the same pattern of whole, half, whole, half. So you'll notice we ended up with an F sharp there. So that means for our key signature of G major, it's all natural notes except for F sharp. For example, in C major, which we played first, we're on all of the white keys, meaning there's no sharps or flats in the key signature. In G major, we have that one F sharp. If we went to D major and we play through the same pattern, we end up with an F sharp and a C sharp. You'll see this chart is organized by key signature, and you can scan it horizontally to find the scale that you need. The keys highlighted in color are the notes that you're going to play that make up that scale, starting left to right from the root note. You'll also notice a formula column on the back, which has numbers 1 to 7 listed. These correspond to the 7 notes of the major scale, which is the standard that we describe intervals from. For example, if we look at the next box down, we'll see that the natural minor scale has a flat 3rd, 6th, and 7th. So this means that we use that standard pattern, but we flatten those notes. So if we were playing through C minor, we would now have a flat 3rd, E flat, a flat 6, A flat, and a flat 7, E flat. So it would sound like this. So the melodic minor scale is an interesting one that's worth talking about here. You'll notice on the formula column that there's an asterisk next to it. This is because we actually play it differently depending if we're going up or down the scale. If we go up the scale, we actually have a major 6 and 7, or rather a major scale with a minor 3rd. And then when we play it descending, we just play the natural minor scale. So this might sound a little confusing, so let's just walk through it. So if we play it up, starting from C, D, flat 3rd, which is E flat, F, G, and then we have our major 6 and 7, so A, B, C. Once again. And now we want to go back down, and we're just going to play the regular natural minor scale. So C, E flat, A flat, G, F, E flat, D, C. So if we play through it fast, you'll hear how it actually has this rather interesting sound to it. Here are a few exercises that you can use to start memorizing these scales and building coordination. We'll stick to C major here to keep things nice and simple. So we can practice with both hands and use parallel or contrary motion to go through them together. So we'll start with parallel. This one's a little difficult because you need to tuck your thumb under at different times. So we'll start with the left hand pinky, right hand thumb, both on C, which is our root note. So. And watch how my thumb tucks underneath as I go up and down the scale. So this also happens at different times for each hand. So we'll go nice and slow and see if you can follow along. So we'll also try this as contrary motion, so moving the hands away from each other. So starting with both thumbs on C, play through the scale, and now we're tucking the thumb under at the same time, so it's a lot easier. So let's look at this exercise in a different key. So if we go back to our G major, we're adding in this F sharp now. So starting with both our thumbs on G, or you can do the parallel motion again. So if you start slow, and then once you're able to repeat it a few times without making any mistakes, then you want to start to build up speed a little. So if you use the metronome, you maybe want to increase it by 5 BPM each time. And it's really not about building speed though, you just want to get everything nice and consistent and accurate. So you might be wondering how these scales apply in the real world. So we use them to build chords, write melodies, and improvise with. Here's a popular song you might recognize that uses the G major scale. If I Ain't Got You by Alicia Keys. I'll play this slow so you can follow along. Try starting with just your left hand, because that's the most simple one. And then you can add in the right. And then when you're comfortable playing each hand, then you can put them together. And again, start really slow, build up. Like you probably want to play it slower than I am right now. So another great way to practice and memorize these scales is to try writing your own melodies. If we look at the D major scale, we have an F sharp and a C sharp. So if you want to improvise or maybe come up with a melody, you could just hold the D root note in your left hand, or maybe play a D major triad. So try this on your own, pick any scale from the chart, try making your own melodies and improvising with them. And then work your way through, get really familiar with each type, like just starting with the major scale, then the minor scale, and again, practice on both hands, make sure you build that coordination. You can also use scales to improvise over chord changes. So if you were in C major and you had your 1, 4, 5, so C major, F, G, you could use the C major scale to play all over that. So if you want to learn more about chords and modes, which will help you solo over them, check out links to videos on both subjects below.